Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Kissy. So today I have a important message I want to share. I wasn't going to do a reading today, but I got inspired to come out and enjoy the spring weather. So let me begin with today is a 3-day. So the number 3 could be significant today. It is Tuesday, Mars Day. The number 11 could be significant. That's been coming through quite often the last couple of days, okay? So first house energies, the number 1, Leo energies, Aries energy, could even be Gemini energies, the Magician card I associate to Gemini. So also, let's go into this energy because there's two ways that it's coming through. So the first one, we have a very sexualized energy, but in a how to put it, He Loves the Way I Ride It by Sierra. But it's she rides it like a roller coaster. As soon as I take her to the top, she screams. I don't know what he says there, but she rides it like a roller coaster. As soon as I take her to the top, she screams something, something. Then I put her to bed. Touchdown. He scores. With MVP, with a rack like that and a back like that, CC better CC me. So CC. CCing. Somebody's getting CC'd in a message because somebody touched down and scored. Call that energy as you will, but like I said, very sexual energy, very juvenile game playing, playing the field in terms of romance. So that's just an energy. Also, Chevy truck. A truck could be significant, but something beyond that was better, bigger, longer, louder. So that also, you can see that it's very very sexualized energy, very much competitive and showing off, exuding or maybe not exuding, but there you can see that there's like an energy of just basically that men competing, or it could be females too, okay, but it's coming across as men, kind of like, yeah, but mine is bigger and I got more, and better, bigger, louder. It's just who's got more of what. So now it takes a little down undertone, like that energy plays out, I guess you could say, it maybe in the light, in the external. It looks one way. It looks very proud, very got everything under control. Then there's this one. No podrás olvidar que te amé como yo nunca imaginé estaré. Hold on, I'm getting to the words here real quick. Piel cada momento que un eterno suspiro. Hold on. Okay. This energy is like, again, now let's talk about that same kind of arrogance in a more subtle way. And that subtlety comes across as like, yeah, we broke up. You can't deny that I loved you. So this is coming across like a masculine, right? That maybe really expressed his love in a way that was easy for him. Easy in the sense of like, he can buy you anything, he can give you anything, but it wasn't about you. It was about, he can get these things. So, but there was a breakup, and this masculine is very hurt about it. But it's almost like he's using this energy of, you can't deny that I loved you. right? So you may have your reasons, divine feminine, for, or even masculine, you may have your reasons for this relationship ending, but this person feels that, you know, because they feel like they did that, you can't deny, they, to them that equates love. That's their love language. Maybe that's just how they operate, and they could be right. Yes, you did love me in your way. In your way, you loved me, but in this way that mattered to me, that I thought was understood between us, in this way that mattered, that's not love. You can't say that you love me if that's the case. So that could be a conversation that's going on where this masculine feels justified. You know, like you can't be really mad at him because he loved you. Maybe he supported you. Maybe he gave you everything you needed materialistically, but neglected you emotionally, for example. Okay, it could be however it plays out in your dynamic. But then there's Killing Me Softly. I, I do love this song, but Spirit was like, no, let's go deeper into this one because it has a lot of, it has a very sinister undertone, and I don't want to focus too much on that, but let's at least acknowledge it. All right. Hold on, there's like a little fly thing flying in front of my camera. Okay, Killing Me Softly. I think she says, strumming my pain with his fingers. Strumming my pain with his fingers. Singing my life with his words. Killing me softly with his song. Embarrassed by the crowd. I felt he found my letters and read each one out loud. But he just kept right on. So there's that thing, that energy again, he just kept right on. You know how we were talking about bigger, better, longer, loud, or whatever? It's like this is a masculine energy that can just go too far, push it too far. And this was giving me, unfortunately, this song was not playing out as it was, as romantic as it is, it wasn't coming through that way. It was coming through as a masculine that was embarrassing. Okay, doesn't have to be masculine, but okay, look at it this way. J-Lo is what? A Leo, okay? Fire energy. And there was a tabloid about J-Lo supposedly, maybe not a tabloid, it was in her documentary or something, that she read some letters of Ben that Ben personally gave to her, right? It was private, and she was sharing it with some friends. But it was also being recorded for the public, you see? So, in that way, apparently there was some big old thing about that dynamic, or about that energy, but the roles were reversed. You can see it, obviously. You know, it's like, usually, you know, you'll have a feminine want to protect those matters of emotional sensitivities, or, you know, very private, personal feelings just between us, like keeping something sacred. It's usually a female or feminine, however, excuse me, my military lingo lingers as well. So I sometimes can be militant in how I communicate. Excuse that about me. Maybe that energy needed to come through also with this Mars energy. So let me address this real quick. There was a gentleman, Mr. Trillionaire, thank you so much for your comment, asked me if I could do readings on the wars and the state of the world. I'm the king of the world. Okay, let me stop. That could be significant. But what I was thinking was, you know, the state of the world is what you make of it in reality. And yes, are there affairs? I mean, I personally observe, you know, what's happening in life, real life, and then I look at what's happening on social media. The realities, I mean, granted, I'm not in those spaces that are being discussed. I am not in those places where I make the decisions of what's going to happen. But where I am, this is where I am. And that's that. So why is my energy, mindset, focus going to dive into a reality that A, has nothing to do with me, B, is of no interest to me, because it's a lack of channeling our creative energies. And when you understand, or when we come to understanding within ourselves that the world we see is a reflection of the world we are, that trumps or supersedes the collective reality that is told to us. Now, that's not being naive. You can be very well aware of your surroundings. You can see if there's panic in the air. You can see if there's trouble in the energies. You can see it. Oh, danger, danger, move over. Danger, danger, get out the way. Danger, if that's the case, that's the case. I'm not saying that's for everyone. People need to be directed. That's fine. People need to be guided. That's fine. We all do in certain things. We all want to trust in a higher power to let us know. But if a higher power that I'm expected to buy into or tune into is wanting, it's for example, it would be like letting my child tell me to be afraid of the Cookie Monster in my closet, and me actually being afraid of a Cookie Monster in my closet. Now, granted, I'm not saying that otherworldly things are not occurring in our reality. Magical realities do exist. But in our physical experience, what manifests only is what we create. And we create what we believe. And we believe what we choose to believe. And that's that for me about that. All right, anywho. Killing me softly, strumming my pain with his fingers, singing my life with his words. I wrote a note on that. Influencing your awakening with this vibe, music, words. You can have a masculine. This masculine, even a masculine that's reflecting to you a shadow aspect. And when I say a masculine, it's something outside of us. It could be a feminine person, a woman, but it's a reflection that you see of yourself outside of yourself. So you can consider that a masculine aspect. Anyways, this influence is a song, or it could just be this person's energy, or it could be their words. They could be exposing vulnerabilities. They can be reading your letters out loud, or it feels like they're reading your energy out loud in a way that it's killing you softly. And that's almost a gift, because if you think about it, we all have to transition, transcend, and grow and release, parts of our skin, our layers. When we do that, we don't want to just, well, maybe some people do. Oh God, why are you going to make me talk about this? All All right. For sensitive people, please don't listen. If the imagery might be too much, or if um, the sound of the topic makes you very uncomfortable and it's something you don't want to ingest, then don't, please. And this is me giving you a forewarning. And maybe I'm being overly sensitive, perhaps, but I do want, there was a time in my younger days when I was very, very, very impressionable. And I don't think people really take that word for what it means. Impressionable. That impression impresses upon you. Okay, like for example, I'll give two examples. The first one is I could have been meditating. Imagine a sea, an ocean. And as I'm listening, I'm falling so into it to the point that my physical body is reacting, and I fall back to an ocean wave I mean, it was so loud. To be that sensitively tuned into that space, that frequency, that energy, and to believe you're there, and being able to tune out your physical reality and transport yourself into another reality that you're there. It's like that movie. What was that movie where she goes to like that alien world, and I think she's sitting with a being that represented her father? God, what was that movie? Abyss? I suck at this one. All right. Okay. Maybe it was The Abyss. Oh, please. I wish I knew. I can't remember. She's like a astronaut or something. No, I don't know. I don't even remember. Is it Jodie Foster? I think it's Jodie Foster. If anybody knows, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But, oh my gosh. Hone it in. We were talking about Jesus, transporting ourselves. Energy. But why were we talking about the transportation of energy? Let me rewind real quick. Oh, the sensitivities, right? I'm overly sensitive. Okay, maybe I'm overthinking the sensitivities of others, but I do want to take into consideration because of my own sensitivities. That was one example. But on a negative side, there was a show called Faces of Death. It was so creepy. This was like in the 90s, I think. And why I entertained it? Because a Gemini influenced me to watch it. Geminis have this thing about influencing people, don't they? They really can. Our minds can be very much influenced, especially when they seem so exciting or so like, ooh, this is really gonna be like, let's see if I can. It's like it's always up for the challenge to like see how far I can go. Maybe that's just me with Mercury in Aries, Venus in Aries, and Sun in Aries. So I can be very much okay. But anywho, Faces of Death. I had the audacity to watch that shit, and then go to sleep afterwards. After watching what was this was like the beginning of reality TV, and it my brain, okay? Supposedly, I never really researched it. Maybe it would be a good time to do so, but supposedly, these were a compilation of videos of people that were recording on regular camcorders, just bungee jumping. This could have been videos of like security cameras in hospitals. A few of the scenarios that I had seen were horrific, like random accidents caught on camera, things like that. So you knew, oh wow, this isn't make-believe, this is real, and the reactions were super real, okay? For example, there was a nurse in a psych ward that was treating a patient, and the patient somehow managed to grab some of the tools. I don't know what tools. There was something, and managed to, maybe it was a needle or something, but was attacking her, ended up attacking her and killing her. And then the rush of people reacting like, oh my God, stop him, all of that. That's impressionable. There was another one of someone bungee jumping and the bungee cord, because it was like it wasn't a professionally made one. It was a bunch of kids going up to like some kind of pier or whatever it was. And I mean, you could just see it. Oh, we're having so much fun. How cool, how cool, how cool. Typical spring break, type of events and shit. And you know how kids are. Bungee jumping, that one kid that to his. So, wow. I hate when I talk about shit that I don't really like to talk about. But impressionable. You gotta be mindful of someone's vibe or someone's music or someone's words and how or where they're directing where you think and how it makes you feel, because it does play out if you're that impressionable. If it really affects your subconscious, like if it really hit, like, oh shit, what is it, like it woke you up. And if you're very impressionable, you can get woken up by I mean, it's like reality. It's like the reality of death is in your face, um, because it's. The reason for the pause, folks, is because a lot of imagery of a lot of experiences are coming through that I that I've had many years to release in a healthy manner. Those fears, I was never suppressing fears. Maybe I need to talk about this, guys. Sorry. It's not about, you can't just suppress a fear. You can't just say, I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid. It's gonna creep up. Oh. All right. For example, for those that haven't watched the movie The Sixth Sense, I'm giving you an example of how impressionable some children can be. And those same children don't protect themselves from that impression even as they get older. Me being an example of that. Why? I don't know. Okay, let me stop. Maybe it's an Aries thing. Maybe it's a Mars thing. Maybe it's just that. I don't know. I went to see The Sixth Sense when it came out on theaters. The impression of the shock of the characters realizing the actuality of things, and that rewind moment where everything, like looking back and be like, oh, what? OMG. And then being there in that moment, like, wow. The review, completing the review, a completion of the life review, a completion of that review, reviewing that which was is no longer, and finally being at peace with it. So that kind of impression hit me in that moment when I first watched it. But do you know how long it took me to accept that reality or that truth of without having, how do I put it? Without having experienced that same thing. I didn't go through what he went through in that same way. Bruce Willis, the character in that movie. I did not experience it in that way, but I experienced it in subconsciously. It played out in a less severe. So it's like aspects of ourself can die off without our whole or before our physical body expires. And the earlier in life you let go of that which isn't true to who you are, the more of who you are you can be in your reality and live out your whole existence wholly. Holy I don't know where that came from, but okay. All right, so that's that. I wasn't trying to lecture. But there's a lot of stuff. The Killing Me Softly song, back to that. I just want to clarify. I love the song. I'm not saying that that's negative imprinting or anything of that nature. But it does give, it was giving this sense of be very mindful. You know, sometimes we get so caught up in the illusion of love, right? Like, we're like, oh my God, he's so beautiful. And we could just get mesmerized. And oh, look at that. It's like all of a sudden, I'm so sleepy. Hypnotism. If you're a person that can easily, if I told you the sensitivities, how sensitive they can get, it's scary. It can be scary. But once you realize it, it's like, oh, okay, and you have a firm anchor with yourself, okay? Those things cannot affect you anymore because you're like the eye of the storm and you see it all and you're not caught in the whirlwind of it. But, excuse me, what it is though, however, damn it, how quickly I lose this freaking, it's just like, damn it. The eye of the storm. OMG, like for real, that one just like, wasn't he talking about Killing Me Softly with his song that I wanted to clarify that? Oh yes, they can hypnotize. Oh, all right. I was on the phone with someone one time and I was walking in my kitchen. I was just like walking as I was on the phone, like, you know. And no, it wasn't even talking. It was texting. And I'm getting things, you know, from the fridge. I'm putting things away, whatever the case might be. But I know that this person, either they had a heavy Neptune or they were using heavy Neptune energies to kill me softly. Or it was something with because it was when I say killing me with his song, it's like whatever that energy was, that music he played, that vibrational essence that was transmitted, I can guarantee you that what I felt in that moment scared the bejesus out of me. The bejesus out of me in that moment. It scared me only because it was unfamiliar. I had never experienced something so... It was incredible. It was almost as if my own spirit had come out of my body, and I can see my body being puppeteered. I know that sounds weird, but it was like I can... Maybe that was just... Maybe what I am explaining here is what it feels like to have an out of body experience, or just I felt it was like the essence of myself was outside of me, and then feeling like the body was... It would go to sleep if I wasn't in it, kind of energy. Where did I hear that? Someone say something like that. Like, I gotta go home. And, oh God, get it. Hold on. I gotta talk about this real quick, the X-Files. Alright. So yeah, I felt that experience in that moment, and what scared me was the how the body just felt so like I don't know, like it was just like weird. Maybe you can associate it to like feeling like drunk, maybe, or something like that. But take that energy as you will. Be mindful of how people influence your energy when you're not aware, or when you're really caught in someone's spell. Like, that's part of falling in love in some ways. Like when we, especially when you're younger, it's like you get mesmerized by someone to such an extreme that you're not really noticing, or maybe you do, but you're ignoring because it feels like a dream. So you're just ignoring things that you're not supposed to ignore. So be careful of that. And don't be afraid to burst that bubble yourself and be like, no, 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 let's get our head out the clouds, and let's get down to the nitty gritty. All right, the X Files is X as in ex partners, ex girlfriend or ex boyfriend. The X Files. These are two actors that were part of a show called Roswell. My favorite show, one of my favorite shows. And they played not why did I just forget their fucking names? Maria and Michael. Jesus. Maria and Michael. I love you guys. That's Majandra Delfino. I think that's her last name still. I don't know. And Brendan Furr. They have a podcast. So they were discussing. The reason I even brought them up was because one of their episodes they said they made a joke about going into, because they're aliens, right? Obviously in the show, or he's an alien in the show, and there was a line that was said like, I gotta take my body. Okay, excuse me, Mom. There was an episode where some guy, he was like the supervisor of no, he was some computer type person that would always go to the shop that the girls worked at and order food. He worked at a museum for spaceships and aliens and all of that. So the reason I even brought it up, I am so sorry. I'm like really out of it today. Not really, I'm not out of it. I feel ditzy as shit though. I get carried away by the energy sometimes. That's exactly my point. I get carried away by the energy sometimes. I have to get like really like anchored down. All right. So, in his name is Brody, the character Brody, but he has a alter ego that comes through. Well, technically not an alter ego. In the show, he was abducted by an alien, and the way that he was abducted by the alien is it would take over his body and speak on his behalf, and then they would exit his body, and he would not even realize that he was used as a vessel to perform, a task for the galactic, whatever. And he's left feeling like a weirdo because he's like, I was abducted by aliens. But he thinks he physically went elsewhere. He thinks and his body did. His body went to another city. But those are things that he probably was doing in his day-to-day. That's why his vessel was used to transport whatever, but he wasn't conscious of it because his body was used in the moment to do these things. And those things are not real. You know what I mean? Like, that actually occurs. Like, I had a situation where I made a connection with someone, but the way that they were talking on the outside looks one way, and behind the scenes, spiritually speaking, that there's something bigger taking place. Like when they refer to politics or when they refer to Hollywood, that you're looking at those things play out in your life in other ways perhaps, but because we are all experiencing the energies in different ways, when you realize it's just the energy, not me personally, or I'm not alone in this, or this influence is leading the pack versus that influence is being deterred by whatever's leading us to somewhere that we don't want to go. I feel like I'm all over the place. I apologize. Hey, listen, if it doesn't make sense, it don't make sense. But if it does, it does. And then there was something more serious I had to talk about. A lot more serious. Maybe oh my God, I think I'm avoiding the harder conversations. Why am I avoiding the harder conversations right now? Maybe somebody's avoiding the harder conversations. Okay. Do you know why people... I had to write it down because I almost forgot. I didn't want to forget it. I mean, but I know how quickly... You see how quickly... It's okay. Why people don't give appreciation as much as they would or could? Do you know why people don't share their appreciation? Because it brings up vulnerabilities and fears. If I told you what you mean to me, or how much you mean to me, for example, right? All right. If I told you that you mean the world to me, how do you think that makes me feel if I lost you? So if I'm sitting there telling you, I appreciate you so much, I love how I feel when I'm with you. If you just take that moment to like really tell someone, now get out of a romantic connection. This could be your family member. This could be a grandparent, a parent, sibling, a best friend, a child. When you tell them you mean the world to me, and I don't know what I would do if I could never see you again or be with you again, that brings up fear and vulnerability. If a child tells their parent, I don't know how I'm going to live without you, Mom. If Mom isn't grounded in where Mom is, Mom would panic because of thinking of her own fears of death, or her own fears of not being able to take care of her child. Like, oh my God, what if something happens to me? Or, people think this way in real life. People actually are afraid of death. People actually do worry about things like this. But they don't deal with it. Or they don't want to think about it. Or they're superstitious that they start to freak out and think, why are you mentioning this to me? Why are you talking to me about this? All of a sudden, the energy, the connection becomes very weird. And yes, I am speaking from experience, but if it relates to you, please feel free to, let me know. Been there, done that. Or yes, that's exactly how it is when you're trying to be genuinely when you know the value of time, when you know the value of loving someone in the moment, when you cherish the day or cherish those you love, when you appreciate them, it's futile to have moments of ignoring one another. It's futile to have moments of being together miserable, fighting over stupid things. It's futile to worry about what you can't control and waste endless years of your life in fear of things that may never come, causing a wedge in your connections out of differences of opinion or differences of temperament, to the point that you isolate yourself from the same people you want to be connected to. Now, I have always been the one trying to stay connected. But there's a point where I can't continue to connect if the person's range of vulnerability is limited to reacting in fear, which is usually fear that leads to smart ass comments, angry outbursts, or judgmental, defensive, panicky, or all of a sudden changing the subject or moving, those kinds of energies are like, okay, never mind, we won't talk about that. I'll let it go. And it's okay, so it's like, and the reason I bring that up, okay, let me tell you this. My daughter had a good friend of hers whose grandfather passed away. And I had talked to this young man, and we had a good conversation about his relationship with his grandpa, who he loves very much. And so, the sad thing is that people sometimes wait for that to happen to suddenly feel free to cry or to, okay, this is no longer about that connection, but I want to give an example of what's toxic in that dynamic. Let's say you have a couple that was miserably together forever, and when the person dies, the other person is in regret. This usually happens when you have people that are stubborn and forgot why they stopped caring about you. And maybe not caring, they're just doing their functions. They'll still serve your food, or they'll still, make your bed, or they'll still prepare your help you prepare for the day. We're talking about like these older couples. They can fall into these patterns of like, we'll still do our functions, but our connection isn't there because of something that happened in 1942. Examples. And it's like, why are we not addressing these things right away? Hey, I'm not comfortable not being able to be myself with you. Why do I have to have a boundary with you in this way? What these boundaries and then these it's ugly. It's not cute. And I'm sure it's more relatable than it's not, where you'll have these people that stay together knowing like they could be a lot happier together, but some trigger or something that can never be discussed or talked about, because let's avoid this, let's not talk about that, let's pretend this didn't, let's hope that doesn't, whatever these things are that keep people changed into a darker space, changed into a place of complacency, or that's life. And then it's like, oh well. It's like they give up. It feels like they just gave up on growing, or they give up on exploring, or they give up on being inspired, they give up on being in love. They give up on being in love. They give up on being in love. That's what it is. So, does it really take for the personality to be like, oh God, now that you're gone? It's almost like now you can acknowledge the apology, so to speak. Like now you can, it doesn't make sense to wait for someone to pass to then want to apologize now that they're not there. Like, oh, now that the emptiness is there, you can be real with it. If that's what it takes to be real with it, maybe that's what it takes to be real with it. I don't know. But maybe if you vicariously experience it through others and you truly assimilate it within yourself, you may never have to do that. In other words, you won't regret. That's the word, regret. All right, so anywho, let me hold that thought. How do you think I would feel if I lost you or never could see and talk to you again? The answers that come to the surface may be uncomfortable to say the least, or outright challenging to be in that space. Yet it's the source of all healing necessary in matters of love and family. The song When I Was Your Man came through. There's so much regret in there to never get to clean up the mess. Never get to clean up the mess I made, he says. And it haunts me every time I close my eyes. It all just sounds like... All right. That I should have bought you flowers and held your hand. Should have gave you all my hours. I forgot. Take you to all the parties when all you wanted to do was dance. All right, so that is the culmination of all that I recently just brought up. Is, I would call it, let's say if we were talking about that this Mars energy that I was referring to earlier, you know, he loves the way I write it and all this bigger, better, longer, all this like competitive, all this ego of I'm the best, I'm the this, I'm the that, da 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 da. That can separate you from real love when you continue to act like I'm this, I'm that. That ego that says you're too good to yield for love. Let it go for love. That cocky attitude of I'm better than you. It's competition. It's like, if I know you're going to be in my life for the rest of my life, like if I'm being real about who I am, if I'm going to be real about who I am, I'm going to say, I know who I want to be with in my space forever. I know who I would, what conditions I would need in a relationship to know how I can live in harmony with you. And as long as these very little things are done, because it is very little, then we can be happy forever. And you know, even in the hard times, we can get through those hard times a lot smoother than most people could, only because there's a sense of security that you cannot get from bigger, better, louder, more, more, more. It actually comes from the emptiness, the nothing, that space that's dark. That's where the healing comes from, the source of all healing that's necessary. There's another song, Y sigue siendo tú. Y sigue siendo tú. Oh, el centro de mi mundo. It's and it's still you, the center of my world. My pain, my deepest pain, what couldn't be, what I always loved, sometimes is so cruel remembering you again. Sometimes I remember, or sometimes your memory attacks me, me ataca en la espalda, like it feels like swords on his back, like a betrayal. Okay, this embodies what I was just talking about, el centro de mi mundo. When I said, if I told you that you are my world, meaning that if I lost you, right? If I lost you, you mean the world to me. You mean the world to me. Never being able to be with you again would break my heart. I can say that I have felt that for friends that I've lost. I miss these people dearly, people that I genuinely loved. I lost in real life, I'll never see them here in the physical again. But I dream with them all the time. I feel them in my heart all the time. They're more real inside of my reality than some individuals that may have been in my, even, how do I put it? That I gave them even more access to me. That should never have been, like, it's like a bad root. You just gotta, like, rip that bitch out. What I did see was like a turnip, being rooted from the ground. Turnip? I don't even know turnip. It looks like round, big old. Okay, look, I'm just giving you what I see. Y sigue siendo tú el centro de mi vida. That's Mark Anthony's song. But that feeling of, that's the longing, that feeling of, I love you so much. It's associated to a pain of, it's so deep. It's like it's associated to the deepest wound. And please consider it again. I love, like, for example, like, I love my mother dearly. If I was to express to my mother the love I feel for her, I probably couldn't bear the pain, and neither could she. The pain of that love, to even think, to love someone so much, and imagine not to be able to touch or smell or hug or hear or watch or see how they behave. That's what we miss the most. Because if you don't know it internally, if you don't feel it inside, then it becomes difficult to imagine it when they're not there. So how do you know? How would you be able to feel someone that is no longer there if you never took the time to know them when they are there? You have to love and want to. Like, my children, and I'm not saying, my mother put a lot of love and attention, which is why I can hear and see her even when she's far away, on vacation, wherever she goes. Me and my mom have a good connection. We're very in tune with each other. And that energy in itself is eternal. But that connection, not everyone has, because of this ego thing called pride, called I'm better, bigger, stronger, If you didn't take the time to appreciate what you have when you have it, how do you feel it or know it or experience it when it's not there? You can't. You'll be like, oh my God, I forgot how they feel. I forgot how they sound. I forgot how they, do this. And forgetting is not always an indicator of that you didn't do enough. It's just that memory or that experience of, or that suffering, that pain has been around so long that you've had to let it go, because holding on to it would destroy you. So sometimes memories have to fade a little bit in order for us to be able to go on to the next part of our journey that doesn't include some energies being right there with you, or part of the process with you. Now, please do not give focus to the negative aspects of this energy, I'm sharing it as a, what would we call that? Protective blanket, maybe. Like, cherish what you have here and now. And if you can still remedy, there are connections that you might have that aren't quite as genuine as it can be. Allow it to be. You may have to have a boundary, right? It may not be you that has to fix a connection. And I think that's one of the hardest things for a sensitive individual that knows that they didn't do the wrong, and yet they're always the one to mend, or they're always the one to fix this, because like, I can value you and want to be there for you, but if you don't value me, or you don't see me yet, I say it like that because this is an assumption, then you decide, whatever, I don't even care, or maybe another time, or whatever the case might be, and you'll go about your business. I'm doing what I'm doing, and I can always say, well, I can close a chapter with you by virtue of being able to say, I truly am open to you. I truly am here for you. Or I truly am, I am here, right? And if that's it, it's like, okay, I accept it, like the loss. You can accept the loss, but you haven't closed the door because you're not the one that closed the door. But if that person never comes around, and they just never do, and then it comes to the point where the opportunity will never be able to come now because of A or B no longer being there in the physical to do that, then who do you think is going to be able to cope with any regretful issues? I, from this example, would not have regrets because I've done my part to love you. I didn't, you know what I mean? So that's the difference. And some people don't pretend that we don't see those that act like, oh, I didn't do it. I didn't do anything wrong. You know who you've wronged. And when you know you haven't wronged someone, you can move on with ease. But when you know you've wronged someone, it's hard to move on with ease because you're going to continue to feel out of ease until you correct the wrong. And people avoid correcting the wrong because of pride, or because of they don't want to be put in the position of what they did. And if that's how you look at it, then why would you do what you did if you can't handle it? Like, you shouldn't do anything you can't handle. You shouldn't do to someone else what you can't handle being done to you. So I don't get that. I don't get it when people say, I could, like, this one gets me all the time. The chronic cheater that loses it when they get cheated on. That right there is like, is that even real? Like, are you serious? Like, you gotta be joking. You have got to be joking. Like, for real. It has to be pretend. It has to be a show. It has to be some kind of mockery, or some kind of like, is this really how you, like, you gotta be joking. Don't. You cannot pretend that one thing is separate from the other. That when you do it is okay, if somebody else does it, it's not okay. That applies to everything else. The thief that gets angry at somebody stealing from them. The fucking con artist that gets mad at a conning them. how distorted and separated from reality must you be not to see that what's good for the freaking goose is good for the freaking gander? That's all, folks. I think that's it. Bésame tu boca. One more song. Con tu lágrima de risa. All right, something about somebody really wants to kiss, and it's not just in this song. There was a couple of others. I didn't really get too deeply into them, but the kissing thing. Did I mention que locura enamorarme de ti? Amiga, déjame decirte todo lo que siento. Some men want to tell you, some men sees you as a friend. They want to tell you everything that they feel. They can't live with this secret love anymore. So they want to kiss you very much, but either they think you're unavailable, either you are unavailable to them. They feel like it's crazy to love you. I don't know why. Maybe it's crazy to love you because they're involved. Maybe it's crazy to love you because you're involved. Maybe they feel that it's crazy to love you because they never imagined you as their friend. They never maybe saw you that way. Maybe they never saw you in a romantic way. Maybe they never saw you as someone that saw them romantically. And now they want to confess. So, wow, folks. I don't even know if I want to post this, but I will. Because I know it's a message. I'll come back soon. Take care.